Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to this video on driving the line, the Nürburgring Nordschleife. This is a video that I've put together specifically aimed at those that are new to the Nürburgring Nordschleife, driving it for the first time, really wanting to get an understanding of building up some confidence, building up some speed slowly, and most importantly, learning the proper line through the track. With the proper line comes consistency, and with consistency comes speed. Now, there are dozens of videos online that you can find with folks showcasing laps around the Nordschleife in Asseto Corsa. What I have found is typically a lot of them will show them, pushing themselves through the track at speed, talking to you and narrating the track lap while you're trying to figure out what the heck's going on, giving you information about which gear to be in, where you need to break, and those are all great tips. Don't want to discount any of them. But one of the things I wanted to do a little differently was to reveal some of the secrets along the track that can help you understand things like where is your braking point? Where do I turn in? Where do you position the car? Learning the track is a slow process, and that's one of the reasons why we've started out with a slower car. Of course, you can drive anything you want in here, but to really learn the track intimately and learn it well, you can do a very quick lap in this Toyota GT86. It's not a fast car. It's not the fastest car out here, but it's one that you can use and get very consistent with. And it's always recommended to start with a slower car, especially if you're new and especially if you really want to learn to drive consistency and get faster lap times. It's quick enough to get a lot of satisfaction when you're pushing it hard, but not fast enough to get you into too much trouble. And you'll be very surprised how quickly you can shuffle around this track once you understand the lines and know how to get around it. And that really is the purpose of today's video. We're actually going to start off by going through the track at a slower pace. I do this on purpose so that I have an opportunity to use this video to put it in slow motion, to stop, and just highlight a couple of key areas that you might want to pay attention to when you start your journey. So off we go out of the parking lot down into through the Dottinger Hole as we approach the Bilstein Bridge becomes our first point of navigation. Now, as we approach the Bilstein Bridge, you want to make sure you're on the right hand side of the track. One of the things you've heard the adage of, you pay for the whole track, use the whole track. Very true here at Nordschleife. The number one warning I can give you is avoid most of the curbs. There are a few that you can use, very few. But for beginners, it's great to just avoid them all to stay out of trouble. But I will show you the ones and you'll see the ones that you can use. Your first turn in reference point is this orange end of the Armco and the writing in the road. Once you see that, you'll notice my hands start to turn in towards that first corner under the Bilstein Bridge. You can aim the car and start aiming it towards the I and the L, or the L and the S here. That'll basically clip this apex once you come under the Bilstein Bridge. You're going to be full chat down through here, through the compression and leading down the hill. And you want to get that car set up on the right hand side of the track once again. You'll go through the compression, and once you come through the compression, you want to aim left side of the track. Your next apex and your next point in a tier garden is going to be right here. This is a tricky section, and this is where most people wind into trouble and end up in the barriers at the end of the straight here. You're going to go through here, and most people get through the compression flat. You're maybe flat all the way up through here, but this is where you're going to start to lift because you need to settle the car and get set up for the next right-hander. So you're going to clip the apex to the left. You're going to stay fairly close on this left-hand side. In the training schools and others, you might hear that folks will brake here, just a stab of the brakes, just to set the car. You're going to lift, brake, turn in the car towards this next apex into tier garden here to the right. And then as you get that turn into the right, this is where you brake. They're going to be starting to aim straight right towards the edge of the track here. This is your braking zone into the left-hander that's going to approach to get set up for the right. Everything with the Nordschleife is about flow. It's about setup and getting ready. When you get things right here, the car just naturally follows a progression through this track. And a lot of times requires very little steering input. So as I get myself set up, you're aiming for this left-hand point here. You can see the end of the curb. You're actually going to come in to the left as you start to see me turning the wheel in to the left a little bit here and aiming for the end of the Armco in the orange here. And the reason I do that is because we want to widen out this turn and get ourselves set up for the right-hander that's coming into the tier guard here. The very end of this run, and you see you're going to be somewhat over the white line here, right? But you want to be somewhat into this for the chicane as you come up to the left-hand side and basically use this part of the curbing. It's flat cobblestone here. It doesn't upset the car. You're going to get most of your braking done right before you get here anyway. And once you get established here, you can start your turn in to the right hand side of the track, and you'll see where you want to aim the car. You want to be right here on the right hand side of this curving. This is an area that I don't know what I've done as far as learning through this, but you'll see a lot of videos where they do the same thing. I find myself that I'm consistently fast through here. And when I'm in online lobbies, this part of the track section, I don't care what I'm driving. A lot of times I find up purple through here. So, which means you get some of the faster sector times coming through this part of the track. It's a great place to build up some confidence, a great place to cut away some time when you get proficient at the lines through here. But it really is a great place to learn the first part of this circuit, which can get folks into trouble. So once you get through that first and second turn, now you're going to set up the car on, again, the left-hand side of the course. So get to the left-hand side, stay all the way left along the Armco here. The color change in the sidewalk when it goes from dark to light. Between here and this sign and the end of the sidewalk here, where it changes colors, is where you want to start your turn in. You basically want to get yourself as close as you dare to that Armco. Depending on where you start your turn in, how far left you are will determine your trajectory through this through turn 13, through this part of the track. But you want to get yourself close to that Armco. Many folks will brush it if you're really pushing too close. But the objective here is to get the car set up. As you notice the transition, right when I've come through the apex of that corner, I'm now unloading the steering. All of these corners about flow, as I mentioned before. You get through the turn, you start unloading the steering by steering out. You want to end up right at the edge of the track. In many cases, for consistency for me, I roll over these cobblestones and I end up right along this edge, and then I start aiming myself down towards the next corner as we come over the start finish line here. Aim to the right hand side of the track, stay right, stay right, stay right. Now, this is another part of the track in Hudson-Block, and when I see folks, uh, all kinds of different lines, people going off way to the right of the Armco. It's all designed to shortcut the turn, not really necessary. And of course, you're over the limits of the track. If you're doing that, you're going to come in outside the line. Once you pass the end of the Armco at the right hand side, you start setting up your turn. You want to hit your apex fairly late, right there, and then unwind the steering wheel, get the car off to the right. You can almost touch the curbing a little bit. And another common mistake is folks will stay to the inside curve here on the right. The real line is really going to take you a little bit out towards the marking sign, the 3 kilometer sign. That's where you want to be, because what you're going to be doing is right hand entry into this next corner that's coming up, and it's a fast one. And this is another point where a lot of folks will understeer, drift wide, and end up in the Armco on the left hand side exit of this corner. So as you're coming up to the 2 kilometer sign, you want to find yourself maybe not so far over to the left, because the further left you get, keep in mind that the motion here is going to want to pull you out to the outside corner. But if you stay left here and get the car set up, get yourself on the gas, and now you're going to be starting getting yourself set up for that right hand corner, comes our first little nugget and surprise on the track. If you didn't already know that, now I've got to rewind that here to show you that here. But if you didn't already know that, as you're approaching this part of the track, there is a mark on the track, and there are several of them in several places throughout the track. There's your 2 kilometer sign. That starts the point where you start thinking about turning in for this corner. That dot in the road is a turn in marker, and you'll see them at different places along the track that I'll point out as we go. So I've started my turn just a little bit early, but the point is we want to aim for the inside corner. You want to kind of hug it, not get too close. Again, be careful not to run up on the curb, because it can unsettle the car as your weight transfer is going to be firmly planted on that left-hand side. A little bit of a compression there, and in the old track configuration, it's quite bumpy on the inside there. So you want to be very mindful as you come through here to avoid getting yourself up on the curb. You go through here right at speed in the right car, you're going to end up all the way out here, in many cases right on top of the cobblestones. With this car, you can easily do that without having to get that far, but the main objective is use that track. As you see, I'm still going far left. That's going to set you up properly for the next set of turns, because you want to be left-hand side along the curb. As you get towards Hatzenbach, now we're pointing straight down to this part of the track, because we're going to cut right across that part of the track. All of our braking is done in a straight line right along Hatzenbach on the entry. We're going to left brake, maybe even trail brake a little bit, set up for a late apex turn into Hatzenbach here, and remain on that left-hand side, so that when you get straight here, you can then start your turn in for the second right hand corner. And this is a double apexer. So you're going to end up hitting a late apex here. You're going to drift out in faster cars. You're going to end up drifting all the way out to the cobblestones. And then once you get the car settled, scrub off that speed, you're going to end up turning yourself in to reach that second part of the apex that I mentioned, which is going to be right in here. So as you can see with the GT86, didn't need to use all the track. With a faster car at speed, you will absolutely carry yourself and the momentum will carry you out there. The point is you're still going to end up here to line up for the next corner. As you get yourself here, you're going to come through, stab on the brakes a little bit, and here's another track marker. These boxes right here indicate the apex where you want to hit going through Hotzenbach. So lining up the car to the left, you're going to come in, you're going to stay fairly left, a stab of the brakes, rotate the car to the right, and again, you have another marker to indicate your apex. This is such a flowy corner. When you get this right, it just feels great. It's another part of the track. The first part of the track where you actually can, as you can see how flat this part of the curbing is, you can get the car up on the curb as long as you're not too out of control. You're not, all over the brakes and putting in a lot of steering input. It will not upset the car as much. You can use that curbing to get yourself set up for the turn in for the next part of the left-hand part of that Hotzenbach. Really no marker here, but you can use this part of the track where you can see a lot of the markings from other tires and this green curb to kind of get you generally set. You're going to let the car kind of flow through Hotzenbach all the way out to the curbing. Now, again, faster cars, you might use more or less of this. Very dangerous here, so be careful. It's another part where people lose it. If you just ride up on the edge of the curbing, it actually helps set the car up by limiting the amount of lateral movement that the car will make, and you'll start your aiming point, which is going to be at the 3 kilometer sign that's coming up ahead. So on the gas, you'll lift again as you enter in here at the 3 kilometer sign. You're going to lift to turn in. Another point of the track where you can, if you're careful, use the curbing. Some cars will bite here because, again, keep in mind you're in a right-hand turn. Your inside right-hand tire, actually your outside right-hand tire, is lightly loaded, and you're going to be wanting to get on the gas, and you're in a state where the car is unsettled, and this is where most folks will end up spinning out and winding up somewhere over here in the barriers, or they get too quickly on the throttle and wind up spinning out, coming out of this corner here. This next one going into Hockheim is a downhill off camber left. So you want to get the car aimed and lined up for an apex right through here. Be careful. Again, don't use the curb. You get on the curbs here because you're already going to be on the gas. At this point in time in the corner, with most cars, you can be starting to get flat on the throttle. And as you can see, my telemetry showing here that I'm starting to gradually feed in the throttle as I straighten the wheel and start to come through the apex of the corner. We're going to let this flow us all the way to this outside edge to the point where you might kiss the end of the grass there as you come through. So now we're going to be heading down to Cudahuaca Hole. And as we're heading down to Cudahuaca, we're on the right-hand side of the bridge, lining up for the crest here. And over the top of the hill, we're going to be on the left-hand side. And there's another point of reference here for starting the double apex right-hander here. Right there, there's a marker. Let me rewind that again for folks that may have missed it, because it is a point on the track that you can use to line yourself up for the double apex turn. So as we come across the hill, we'll begin to notice again the end of the orange Armco. You have the access road leading in, and right here on the road is one of the white dots that you can use for Flugplatz to get through the double apexer. If you really nail this right, it's one steering input. Literally, you lock it in and the car will flow through properly. You may have to adjust outwards like I did, but basically, if you get the steering input right and you time it right, you will end up hitting the apex here. You'll kind of feather the throttle through this corner. And as you get back onto the gas mid corner here, where you can get flat mid corner, you will then kiss that second apex. And you can see I released some of the steering input, which means I turned in a little early. So I'm releasing a little bit of that steering input. But once we release, we can get right back on the gas here. And then here is the magic. Set up for this corner, left hand, lock in the steering. Watch how little I move my wheel through here. There's one apex. There's two. Here's the third one you want to kiss. And then you're going to let the car flow all the way to the outside edge of the track. Now, approaching Friedenkreuz, what you want to do is come over the jump. You may lift a little bit in some cars because you will get a little light coming through here, and you don't want to unsettle the car in the faster part. The first caution sign is a good braking reference point. The 5 kilometer sign is your turn in point. At the 5 kilometer sign, you want to turn in. That's a lift. In some cars, you might be on the brake and notice another dot. So there's another dot on the track indicating our turn in point. The objective here is to lift, get the car settled by transferring the weight, getting the turn started, lifting off the gas, aiming for your apex here, and you're going to hug this inside edge all the way around as you get back on the throttle. In some cars, you can get back flat on the throttle. Your next point of transition is going to come there where the pavement changes from dark to light. And some of the faster cars, that's a great reference point for braking. Use that as your starting point. That's a little late. So if you're going to brake there, you're going to be really aggressive on the brakes, really hard on the brakes. Stay wide left here. I do see folks that take a different line and come in very close. But as you notice, here's another dot for you. So the line that they've expressed for you in a turn in is to stay along that left edge. And that is kind of getting that sharper angle in because this is another late apex corner. You'll find most of the corners at the Nordschleife, this is when it's going through Arenberg, most of the corners at Nordschleife are late apex corners, which means you need to turn in late in order to hit the backside, which creates that late apex. Here is another one of those chances. When you get this right, you come in late, you hit hard on the brakes, you settle the car. Some folks get into a drift in through here, but this one feels just amazing. When you get that apex right, you drift it all the way out, sometimes up onto that curbing. Now you're going to be aiming straight for this 93. There's a marker on the side of the Armco here. That's a 93. Aim the car for that 93. When you get to that 93, you start to nudge in. There's a 93. You turn a little bit, and when you get this set, now some people stay left and they'll hug the inside left, and what ends up happening, you might have to put some steering and put left, right. You aim for the 93 and you turn in late. You basically will brush this inside, very slight shift, brush the light, very slight steering to the left, brush the left, and then you're going to be flat on the gas through here. Now, if you want to, you can lift here a little bit. I see a lot of folks, even professional drivers, might lift a little bit going into Foxlore. You don't want to be off the gas at the compression. So from this point on, if you're feeling you're carrying a lot of speed through here, which a lot of folks will lift just slightly, get back on the throttle at the bottom of the compression of fog floor. Aim for the sign at the top of the hill. You want to get on the brakes here as you're coming up the hill. That's when you want to start touching the brakes. At the end of the curbing, right there, you can start your turn in. Because this is another part of the track where you can use the curbing. Even in the real circuit now, this is pretty flat right through. Not only flat, but it's pretty easy to drive through here right now to use some of that curbing. Stay to the left-hand side. I think I drifted a little right. At the crosswalk here, that's your turn-in marker point to turn right into the Adnar Frost. So you're turning right here along the inside edge, right, all the way around. You're going to use that inside edge. Now you want to straighten the car up. You're basically going to be aiming for right about here. There's yellow marking on the Armco. You want to aim for that yellow marking. It's going to go deep. You're going to go very deep into this corner. And that's what you want to do because, again, it's a late apex for the left-hander coming out of Adnar Frost. This is another point as well. If you're carrying too much speed before you start to make that left-hand turn into Adnar Frost, it's a place where folks will turn and spin around and end up facing to the left into the Armco here because you will find yourself lightly loaded with the gas on. It's going to spin the car around. When I drove here myself the first time through, I didn't spin, but I definitely felt myself get very light in the back end of the car. I wanted to step out to the right as I turned in. You're going to turn in late. There's a marker you want to hit, and basically you're going to hug this inside edge of the corner into Adnar Frost. You're going to go deep and basically right towards the end of the track there, right before you get to the end of the curbing. Basically you'll see a lot of places where the end of the curbing is your turn-in point. You want to turn in inside edge, hug it, let it run all the way out wide, come out to the edge and stay there, left side of the track. Stick it out there. Come over the cobblestone, stay left. Now you're going to go right. There's cobblestone on the right-hand side. Now you're approaching Metzgerfeld. When you come up to Metzgerfeld, you'll see the left-hand side of the track start to turn. This is where you want to be. There's a sign here, another marker in between those two parts of the fence. Get your braking done in a straight line. Aim the car straight for that mark. Get all your braking done before you turn in. You can get away with some trail braking with a car that's nicely set up, but get all your braking done here. And right as you get to approach that sign is when you want to get your turn into Metzgerfeld. You're going to come in, hit a late apex through Metzgerfeld, right where the lettering is. Boom, right here where that lettering is on the pavement. That's where you want to hit. let the car flow all the way out to that outside edge. It's a short run. Some folks, you can get back on the gas, fully on the gas, but you want to come out to that right side edge of the track, and then it's a short run and a quick stab back on the brakes again. Right there's a turn-in marker there on the right-hand side. You're going to turn it at this point of time in the track, and where you want to end up being is at the end of the lettering here. That's your late apex coming through Meskerfeld. That will set you up nicely where you want to stay left, and at the end of the curbing, you can start moving over to the right. Kiss your apex here on the right-hand side, and then start lining up to the left-hand side of the track again, all the way on the left for Kallenhard. As you approach Kallenhard, there are two signs. The second sign is your braking point. That's where you want to be on the brakes. You want to come through, start braking at that second sign. Between that first and the second sign, get on the brakes. As you approach the entry into the right hand of the Kallenhard, this is another tricky corner, especially in the wet. There's a white marker for your turn in. It's a late apex. Don't be all the way down here in the corner. You want to be up high here. Start your turn in, and mid corner is another mark. And there's also another marker on the Armco that will show you where you want to be. That's where you want to aim. There's that white dot in the road. So as you get your steering set, you may adjust a little bit. This is one of those corners too with the faster cars, with more higher horsepower vehicles. You can actually steer yourself through the corner with the throttle. So if you get real late and you're having trouble turning in the car, you can kind of goose the throttle a little bit to get that front end to turn in and get yourself on the apex here so that you hit right about here. You'll come through this corner, get left again, sometimes go up on that curb. You're going to aim yourself straight. Again, get braking done. This in most cars for me is an upshift here. You're going to shift up a little bit early because you want to go through here with a settled vehicle. It's going to set you up for the hit, miss, the three rights. That's important. So you're going to aim to the right-hand side, lifting a little bit to settle the car. As you settle the car, again, this is another one of these downhill off-camber turns to the left. You're going to kiss this apex and typically rolling through there nicely off the gas, rolling through here nicely off the gas. You can get back on the gas for a short stint, kissing the apex here on the right-hand side and heading straight for the Armco, right to the left-hand edge of the track. As you come and approach the end of the cobblestones here, that's your setup for the first miss, hit, miss. That's the name of that, because what you're going to do is you're going to miss this first apex. You're going to hit the second one in the middle. And right around that second apex is when folks will get back on the throttle, and you can hold that throttle all the way through the third apex, which is a miss. So here's your miss. Here's your hit on the throttle. Roll all the way out deep to the right-hand side and line up for the entry into our next corner, into the right-hand side, into the hairpin. Now, for that, again, brake a little bit early at the Yokohama sign. You want to get most of your braking done in this straight line before you head down into the turn. Hit the apex on the right, and what you want to do is get yourself lined up close to the left. This is a close inside line. You're going to take the direct line through here, right through the left-hand side of the track. To apex right there. Roll through this part of the corner again. Set up straight. Now, this is a tricky one because you're going to get back on the gas and you're going to fly through here. You can see from my telemetry, I am on the throttle. In most cars, as you start to transition, it's a quick transition from that left to that right. So as you come into the right transition, there's actually a dip in the track here. So it's a little unsettling. You're going to find yourself on that right-hand side apex. You might lift a little bit here because you're going to get on the throttle. Not so much lifting off, but don't go full throttle through here. It's another opportunity for you to spin the car when you're coming out of this corner, or push yourself too far into the Armco. You're going to want to end up all the way out here on the right. And I love this marker for me because right about here on the edge, you'll see this marker here where the writing is on the track. That's where you want to be. Line up on the left-hand side all the way down through. And as you approach into the bottom in here, you're going to be on the right-hand side of the track. Line up on the right-hand side. You're going to do your braking here in a straight line. Braking here in a straight line. The sign on the right-hand side into bright side is your turn-in marker. Some cars a little early, some cars a little late, depending on your approach to that. But that's a good turn-in marker indicator. Right here's your apex, and you'll know if you got this right because you'll drift out to the right, but you won't go up on the curbing. You see a lot of folks that get the turn in right, or they turn in too late they stay too far to the right, and you end up into the wall. As you can see, the markings showing you there. This one is a flowy corner as well. If you get it right, you're going through this corner. A one steering lock through, basically. You're going to carry it all the way through, and your second apex, bam, right here is where you're going to hit. Now, this is another one. As you hex into X-Mule, you're going to head to the right. This is tricky. Another spinning spot. It's uphill. You're going to hit that curbing. That's where most folks try to get on the throttle, and it's off camber. It's just bumpy, and this is where folks spin. Feather the throttle. Be careful through here. Carry it out to the left. Carry your momentum out to the left. Stay on that left-hand side. Now you can be back hard on the throttle up through the hill as you head into Lotto Corner. You're coming up onto the right-hand side now. You're going to line up to the right. Again, it's pretty flat. In most cars, you're going to come through here at a very flat pace. Kiss the apex on the left-hand side and stay left because you need to now set yourself up for the next corner. This particular corner is another one that's interesting. When I went through and the instructor was advising me, a lot of lines. You can break deep, but there's actually I'll try to go back and show you because there's actually a change in color in the Armco here. Right on the left hand side, there. You can see the Armco lightens up just a little bit. At that point in the track, that's what I use as my reference for it. Boom, right here. That's the braking reference point for me is when I typically start to hit the brakes and get on the brakes and get myself set up for berg work. What the instructor told me, it's a late apex. Stay left, 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 left. There's a little house back here. And they said when you can view that little hut on the right, that's your turn-in point. Bottom line is stay very late through here, almost to the end of the curbing right there. Then you can start your turn in. You get your turning going in now. You'll be able to see the house off to the left perhaps, but you're going to hit the curbing here and then let the car flow. There's the house. You saw the roof. It's hard to see with the foliage here this time. Let the car flow back out to the left-hand side. Remain on the left hand. Be very careful. It's another point where folks spin. You get on the throttle, you touch the curbing here, and you will spin out and end up in the wall over here. Happens all the time. Stay off the curbs through here. Stay left. Follow that left-hand edge. Look up the road, and there's a marker sign here again. You're going to aim for that 11-kilometer marker sign. You can be fully on the throttle here. Stay left. Stay left here. You're going to kiss these apexes. There's going to be one here. There's going to be two here. Let the car flow out to the right. Get yourself aimed in. Turn in here left. Just kiss the inside edge of the curb. Come right to the right. Another cobblestone there to the right-hand side. Flow it all the way up the hill. Again, hard on the throttle all the way up. Stay left, stay left, stay left. Up into the top of the hill. Kiss the curbing to the right. You're going to aim for your apex here onto the left and get yourself set up for this one. This is another tricky corner where most folks go off and hit the Armco. Aim straight for the edge of the curbing right into here. That's your turn-in point. Get off the gas. Boom, you saw the dot, right? There's your turn-in. Hit the brakes or lift in most cars, but most you're braking into that. You're going to hit your first apex. Now you're going to be aiming out here, rolling the car a little bit right. Let it breathe. Let the car breathe. See, I'm unloading the steering. I'm unloading the steering. The car's going to drift out into multi curve, out to the cobblestones, drift all the way out there. Use that part of the track. When you get it right, this again is another lovely place on the circuit. We're going to start lining ourselves back up now for the next corner. After we've come through multi curve, we go straight on to the left-hand edge of the track. There is actually a bit of cobblestone right here on the left. You can use that, hit that. It's a good point of marker. I see folks come through here and brake. Don't need to brake. If you get the setup right, you just turn in a little early. It's a little tricky of a corner because what ends up happening is you turn in a little early and let the momentum carry the car out to the right-hand side of the track. So I'm on the throttle fully here, as you can see. You're going to just let it flow, hit this part of the curbing, let it flow all the way out to the left. You see, again, I'm unloading the steering wheel, letting the car drift itself back out to that left hand. It's a natural line through here. Back on the gas full. You're coming down into the entry here. Line up on the left-hand side. And for most cars, the braking point is just about right at the end of the curbing here if you can get hard on the brakes. So you can see I braked a little bit, let off, get the car settled, just continue this line straight on through. And you're going to, again, late apex. It's a double apex corner here, believe it or not. You're going to start here and hit this first apex. You can see the older track leading off there to the left. You hit your first apex, kind of feathering the throttle through here. Again, this is another part of the track where the higher performance cars or higher horsepower cars, you get on the throttle too aggressively, you'll end up spinning through here. So just hug the inside edge, kind of drift out a little bit here, as you can see, and you'll boom, hit the apex here. This is another part where you line up straight, right in the middle of the track. You go straight up through the middle. As you come up to the top into the carousel, you will notice straight ahead there is another marker on the back of that wall, right in the writing that says, keep fighting Michael. You're going to aim straight. At this point, you're kind of looking at the edge right up in this area. You'll notice there's a sign marker right here, right in the middle of that keep at the F of Keep Fighting Michael. That's where you're going to aim your car, and you're going to come into a nice drop down entry just at an angle, entering into the carousel. Carousel is not a place to be fast. You're going to go through here pretty much the same speed most cars. It's pretty consistent. Just be on the gas, be on the gas a little bit going through here. Keep it steady. Don't get too far onto the left hand side because that's where you can spin as well. Come out at the edge of that part of the carousel. I want to replay that again. As you're going through the carousel, again, avoid this area in here. As you can see, there's a difference in the profile of the pavement. Come out on this corner. Aim straight. You want to be out on this corner, so you're aiming right here for this apex. That's going to get you set up for the next series of corners. Brush the apex, come out left a little bit, drift back right, boom, into here's another apex. This is another corner where, again, from instruction standpoint, when I went through, my instructor told me don't lift. This is a point where you don't want to lift through here. So you want to be on the throttle. You don't want to brake, rather, not lift. You don't want to brake through here. So you're on the throttle, you set up the corners. You see I lifted a little bit just to get set up, and now I'm getting back on the throttle, feeding the gas back in through here, hitting this left-hand corner. It's a tricky one, another dangerous spot on the track because you've got a lot of speed carrying through here, and you're going to be drifting off to the right side of the track where you've got this sort of artificial astroturfy grass. And once you get in here, it's all over. You're going to ride this all the way up the barrier and end up over here somewhere. So basically, stay right. Start aiming towards the end of the curbing up here. Again, there's a sign point here. You can aim for that. You see where I'm aiming at right now. When you get right to that point, lift, turn in. There's no brakes really needed here. You can brake before that if you get there. Brake before the turn. Lift, turn in the vehicle, turn the car in, hit your apex here. Run the car left along the edge of the track here again. And then you want to get yourself set up so that you're hitting a late apex up the hill. It's basically back here. So get yourself set up. You're going to come around the crest here, coming up over the hill into Hoak. Kiss your apex there on the backside. Come along to the left-hand side of this part of the track. And again, you can use the Armco, and there's a dot here on the road again, the setup for this right-hander. It's a blind right-hand corner, but it is a late apex. There's the orange into the Armco, and right adjacent to that on the access road is where you want to turn in, right at the end of the curbing. Turn in, again, it's going to be a late apex back through here. The car will naturally drift out from here to the left-hand side, curve it all the way out. Stay left. Get your wheel, turn left. There's another little apex. You're going to crest that right here. You're just going to kiss it right there. That's going to get you lined up for the next corner here. Stay to the left again, coming up to get the entry. This is the next part of the track, super fast through here where you can, again, use some curbing. You get lined up right before you get to the orange Armco. You're going to set yourself up. Coming into the next part of this corner, you're going to end up brushing the right-hand side right here. And then coming through Whipperman, entering into Whipperman, you're going to line up and hit the left-hand side. This is a very consistent part. You got to be very careful through here with the curbing. Sometimes you can get too much curbing. You can use it here on the inside, which will help you line up for the right hand. So you're going to use that exit curbing to get you set up for the second part of Whippleman. Back onto the throttle here, use the right hand side of the curbing, and then get your steering lined up to hit right about down here so that you can line yourself up for your next corner. Get the flow out. Again, watch the flow. As I always talk about, flow the car out. Don't fight it through here. Let it drift out, but just keep it from going up on that curb. You come out through the bottom in Eisenbach here. Now you want to, at the end of the curb, turn in Eisenbach. Blind crest coming up over the hill. Have confidence and faith here. You're going to come up. You're going to kiss the apex here to the left. In most cases, you're fourth or third gear. You may even downshift in some cars. Keep the steering where you're at. Come up over the crest of the hill, because when you do, the curbing here, look at the cobblestone. Look at that. You see how that pops out? That little bit of curbing will help you line up for the Yokohama sign, which is your turn-in point for the next part of the corner. Line straight ahead towards Yokohama. You're braking again in a straight line. Get to the Yokohama sign, start to turn in. At the Yokohama sign, you turn in coming down the hill, hit your apex to the left here, let the car flow out to the right, drift it out, let it drift out. Again, be careful. It's another point where you can drift out too far, or if you're carrying too much speed, you're going to end up in the Armco off here to the right. Kind of keep yourself mid to left side of the track. coming through over the cobblestones to the left-hand side, don't necessarily need to use them, but just keep yourself left here. At the end of the cobblestone, you're going to be on the brakes. Brush the brakes here, brush them. Here's another marker you can use to turn in. Coming into Bruchen, or YouTube corner, as they call it, because this is where most folks really get out of shape. Hit the inside curbing here. You're going to brush that inside curbing, take it all the way out. You've got cobblestone, a flat exit here, so you can run the car as wide as you need to stay out of the grass. At the end of Brunchen, coming into the right-hand turn, ending into the second corner into Brunchen, you want to use the end of the curbing as your guide. There's the curbing, this yellow writing, boom, right there. The yellow writing is a turn-in point for you. Turn in, get your steering angle. And this is another one. If you get it right, you can lock in the turning, lock in the steering, hit this angle here, and then just feather the throttle. It's another point where you get a high powered car, you get on the gas too soon, you're going to spin and end up facing the Armco on the right hand side. If you're carrying too much speed into it, you're going to drift out into the sand. Just feather the throttle through here, get it onto the curbing. Use this curbing, use it. This is what it's here for. Get yourself set up and run right to the edge here. Then you're going to head a straight line, setting up for the next part of the corner, which is another late apex and one other point of the track where you can use some of the curbing on the exit. So you're aiming right to the corner, basically kind of in this direction here, as you can see where I'm going into the ice curve here. Lift off the throttle. You're going to let the car drift through here. It's a late turn in, and I might be even a little early here turning in. The point you want to drive here is stay to this left-hand edge. This is where you want to be. You want to be kissing that left-hand side, and right here you can release the steering right facing towards this tree here and just go right over this outside edge of the curb. You'll see the professional drivers in VLN and some of the racing circuits use this all the time. You can use this exit. In some cars, it will upset the balance a little bit. The Porsches tend to bounce over there, and you'll hear the tires picking up, and your revs will bounce a little bit as you're coming over that corner. But it can be used to straighten the curve. This is another setup, a very quick section through here. Setting up with the middle of the track, you're going to be aiming for this inside edge. This is one where you get fully on the throttle, and you're going to lift to settle the car, and then turn in so that you just kiss the inside edge of this of the S into Flansgarden. Off to the left-hand side, let the car drift to the right. Now your combination is right hand, kiss the apex here, left hand down here, and this is where you have the jump. In most places where it's become a little bit flatter, you're going to be on the throttle, you're going to lift, brake a little bit to get set up for the jump, come over the jump, come down in the jump, brake again, and then release the brake before you start to turn in, and now you can be starting to feather back on the throttle again. Very important to keep the momentum through here. It's one turning here as well. If you get it right, it's a lock into the right. It's a double apexer. Right hand turn on the apex. You're going to come up through here. You're getting back on the throttle again. The natural tendency is going to be for the car to drift left, which is great because that's kind of what you want. You're going to hit the second apex. The car is drifting off to the left, drifting off to the left. This is the part where you have to be careful because although it's drifting left, you're going to start turning left to hit this apex, and the car will get light here because there's a ridge here. You're going to get light coming up over here, and in some cars, you might even drift. Again, it's okay if you can catch it. That drift is going to carry you right to the outside edge of the track, which is where you want to be. You can use this cobblestone on the right-hand side. Just stay out of the grass. And in most cars, you want to be on the very left-hand edge of this track. If you get to the right, you can see where the camber runs. The track runs down to the left here. Use that. Get yourself left here. Follow the left edge of the track all the way down and through this short little hill in the compression in the second part of Flansgarden. And as you come down to the bottom of the hill, at the bottom of this curbing, right before you get to the curbing is your next turn in. Into the curbing, turn in. This is an interesting one in through here as well because you're going to hit the corner. You can't see it's a blind exit. You're going to hit the corner, and as you come out, right at the end of the turn here, boom, straighten the wheel. Straighten the wheel right here, as I'm doing now, and you'll come right naturally to this next apex. It's a bump here as well, so you have to be very careful with your steering inputs through here anyway. Most cars, if they're very quick, you're feathering yourself through here. So you're hitting that apex, coming around to hit this apex. Be very careful through there because it's bumpy, it's off camber. You're coming along to set up for the next corner now. Stay to the left. This is one most folks will know about. The turn in for this one, it's a tricky corner. It's another one that you can end up in the left in the arm curl if you're not careful. Stay to the left. The last tree is your turn in point. That tree right there is when you start to turn in. You're going to lift through here, get the car settled into the corner, and you can get back and feather the throttle back through here again. As you can see that I'm starting to turn in, but yet pick up throttle a little bit. You want to end up to the right because you want to set yourself up. As you can see, I'm getting back on the throttle for this very short section where I'm on the gas. I'm going to lift again, little bit of a brake, and I'm going to stab the brake a little bit at the end of the curbing at the cobblestone. Turn left. This is most cars, a third or a fourth gear corner. You're coming through here. You're going to kiss the inside apex, and you've got an opportunity to let the car run wide out to the right. You get that one angled just right, you can carry quite a bit of speed through that last part of the section. And that's where you're going to build time coming through there. So you're going to come to the mini carousel now, lining yourself up on the right-hand side of the track. You're going to stay right all the way down to the end, right at the end of the curbing. Right as you're pushing into the curbing, start your turn in. That's going to get you down into the lower part of the second carousel, where you're going to hit your apex towards the bottom and then let it flow you out to the right. Just be careful again with the throttle through here. It's a little bumpy. You can get yourself unsteady right at the jump as you saw there. You're going to end up coming right, but keep your wheel turned to the left because you're going to come right back here, kiss your apex here to the left, remain on the left-hand side of the track. But look at how killer these curbs are here. They're very, very steep. Stay off of them. You want to stay off the curb. The next turn in marker for you here again is the end of the curbing on the left. When you approach that end of the curbing on the left-hand side, you're going to lift the car, lift off the throttle, hit this right-hand curbing, let the car flow out to the right. You're going to be setting yourself up for this corner where at midpoint, when I remember going through here myself, and the instructor was telling me the first time through here as we were driving, when you got about mid corner, he was like, full gas, full gas. And you're going, wait, I'm still turning. He's like, full gas, full gas. Have the confidence. Drift all the way out here to the left-hand side. You get the car set up for this next corner. As you can see in the Toyota, I'm already flat. I'm almost 100% right now. You're going to aim for this inside edge of the track. And once you get the car settled, because of the way the camber runs, because of the way the track runs right here, right about now, when you hit the apex, full gas, full throttle, flow the car out to the very left-hand edge of the track. Take that all the way out to the left-hand edge and stay there coming down underneath the Audi Sport Bridge. And that, folks, is a slow lap of the Nürburgring Nordschleife for beginners. I hope that helps you fine tune your laps. I hope it helps you figure out where the right place is to get yourself turned in. Build up your confidence by driving through this slowly. Pick out all the points that we've looked at, study the track, learn how to drive those points. And as you start to build up that consistency, the confidence will come with it, your speed will build from it, and you'll be able to really string together quite the lap in almost any car. And you'll find yourself, as long as you are consistent, you know the circuit well, you can drive any car quickly through here. It doesn't matter what it is. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I know it was a long one, but hopefully it helped some of the beginners out. If you do like the video, feel free to like it, subscribe. Maybe I can post more videos of this in the future. But thanks a lot for joining us, and have a good one.